How do you feel now? Now you've done some world building and you're back into writing fantasy. How do you feel about the concept of writing more books in that genre going forwards?
I mean, for the Afterlife Calls books, it's kind of like a warm hug or an escape from the real world for a little bit now. It doesn't
That's what it's
scare
like
me.
reading them too, to be fair.
Oh, thank you. That's kind of what I've been going for. That kind of same feeling that I get reading Vampire Academy or The World of the Gateway. There's a lot of drama, there's a lot of shit that goes down for the characters, but it's still really comforting. And that's what I aim to create because I think there just aren't as many series out there for me personally that I've found that are like the kind of 90s fantasy, which was a balance almost of women's fiction and of fantasy. And yes, paranormal women's fiction is much more on the rise now than it was, but it's still quite a niche genre.
It is a niche genre, and I think it's a good one to exploit. I think you have the perfect skills to do so. The balance of fantasy and world building with the human relationships is kind of it's become well it's one of the things I really like about the books anyway because they complement each other. Is that something that you did intentionally? Did you always want to focus on both, or were you just writing fantasy and the relationships happened kind of thing?
I was writing the relationships and the fantasy happened.
I thought it might be that way around actually, but it's still it's interesting to see that that's what happened.
The relationships come easily for me, and I tend to know where I want characters to end up in terms of the different relationships, romantic, family, friendship, that sort of thing. I usually have that mapped out where I want to go and who I want to break up and who I want to get together and things like that. And so yeah, that bit comes easier. I guess you do have to see them as related though. You can't see them as either or because if you separate them too much, then they're no longer related in the series. Like to use Vampire Academy as an example, you know, the fact that Rose and Dimitri are both vampires is vital to the plot. And the fact that they are in it's forbidden romance. So they can't get together even though they want to be together. And that in particular plays a big role in the later books in the series. So if she treated them as an either or, she wouldn't have that conflict for the later books. And certainly for some of the stuff I'm building up to in later books, if I had treated it as either or, then there wouldn't be as much conflict in the story. And I like the story and the conflict to be a balance of what is relatable and real, like, you know, breaking up when you're 17 and that first heartbreak from your first love and things, to the not so real, like ghost hunting. Well, I suppose some people do ghost hunt, but not like in the way that Neve and Edie and Ben do, you know?
Absolutely. And having the plot focus on the character and the character issues, and then the fantasy stuff impacting that, I think it's a really interesting way